9 people share paranormal experiences they had in Delhi and BC. It's damn scary. Who doesn't like spooky stories? And today, we stumbled upon a series of threads where people revealed their spookiest horror stories from the capital of the country that would definitely leave you screaming. 1. One time, my friend and I got drunk at home and decided to go outside at 2 a.m. in the night. We went to a park next to a temple and mosque, and there were a lot of swings. After half an hour, 4 children came and asked us to play with them. Now, we didn't care and started playing with them. It was a good night, nothing unusual. However, after 4 years, I got to know the story of 4 children that died in the same park during construction and were found in the hole together in 2008 to 2009. Now this scared the shit out of me, as when we left the park, I looked back to these guys to wave bye, but the swings were empty and still moving. 2. As a kid, I used to live in a railway colony behind Parkinge. Sometimes, I would see shadows and weird-shaped things walking in the dark. We are a Christian family, and after hearing all this, my dad would think that I'm crazy. The final nail in the coffin was when I was lying down on my bed. I was about 9, and a white-faced boy peeked through my window. I was curious yet couldn't make a noise because I was awestruck. We stared at each other for 5 minutes and then he walked away. Now, you are probably thinking it was some kid, for real. But it is impossible because I live on the 2nd floor and my window has nothing to stand upon. I told this to my parents and my dad thought that the house has demons, and then we shift back to Lajpat Nagar. 3. I guess an elderly couple got murdered a couple of years ago in one of the 3 Mount Kailash towers near Kailash Colony. I used to live in another tower on a higher floor. My 3rd next door neighbor lived with her kids and mother, and the day I moved into my house and was having the puja, her mom committed suicide by jumping from that floor. Since then, there had been a lot of negative energy on that particular floor. 2 years after that, my great-grandmother died in my room. I used to hear a lot of voices, things were always misplaced, and I used to see shadows where they weren't supposed to be. It always felt like someone was watching. Then, we moved out. Also, my friend and I did an Ouija board in my room once. We even made a connection, and the second we did, the lights in my room went off. The candles too. I'm not making this shit up, I swear. If someone can go and explore, they should. You'll instantly feel the energy shift. 4. My old rented house in Green Park belongs to an old lady. She stays alone in the big bungalow and has only one son, settled abroad. I rented 1 room and a bathroom towards the left side of the house with a separate entrance. There was a servant quarter behind the house in which a couple and their twin daughters used to live. I always felt like something was wrong every time I stepped into the house. But since I was new to the city, finding a fully furnished house was a fortune. I usually used to work till late and used to return back at around 9. I always used to see the twins playing behind my room every evening. Sometimes, even on the terrace or inside the main house. They seemed pretty cheerful. After 15 days, on a bright afternoon, I called the gardener's wife and asked her if she would clean my room. She started right away. I asked her how long she's been here and she said 3 years. I asked her how old her daughters were. She looked at me and asked what daughters. She has no child. After the shock, when I regained my speech, I said, "But who are those 2 twin girls?" She cleaned and left, giving me weird looks. I still remember how long that winter night was, and how I still heard the girls running. The next day, I picked up my clothes, packed them, and told Auntie that I am going to meet my parents. Obviously, I never returned. 5. I was traveling to Haridwar with my family when I was still in 10th grade. We were on the highway and there were farms everywhere. On one particular farm, there was a well in the center. A woman sat on the edge of the well and was combing her hair. I found it super weird and turned to my mother to tell her to look at the weird lady. The moment we turned our heads, poof, she was gone. Either she fell in the well or she ran like 500 m in 3 seconds. As a believer in ghosts, I was scared as hell on the whole journey. 6. This was around 2010, when the internet was a new thing and video calls were extremely hyped in those days. One day, a friend of mine called me on Skype. We were randomly talking about some stupid stuff. While talking, my friend froze for a second. After some seconds, he said, "Who's the person behind you?" I didn't look behind because I thought he was playing a lame prank on me. I asked him to define the person. He said it was a boy of around 10 to 12 years in a red t-shirt. He kept on asking me to look behind and finally I did. But as expected, no one was there. It has almost been 10 years and he still says that there was someone. Anyway, after a few days, I started feeling uneasy around my computer table. I would feel something rubbing against my foot. But I kept ignoring it. After a few weeks, my mom said that she has been seeing stuff moving in the kitchen by themselves. I didn't believe her until I saw glass moving by itself. After a few days, I started seeing some women in white clothes around my bed at around 2 in the night. Once, my auntie also felt something touching her feet beneath the computer table. Finally, my grandmother decided to cleanse the house and I haven't noticed anything suspicious since then. Now, I'm not superstitious or anything, but I saw what I saw. I moved out of Delhi a year ago. 7. I was staying in a really nice hotel in Delhi several years back. My roommate had our room key and was downstairs while I had turned in early for the night. I left the door unlocked and made sure the door was thoroughly shut. As a light sleeper, I awoke to the door slowly opening an inch or so. I got out of bed, peered out into the empty hallway, and secured the door shut again. This slow door opening incident happened 2 more times. After the 3rd instance, I gave up and eventually fell into a deep sleep. The following morning, my roommate asked me if I was feeling okay. When I stated yes, she said that when she came into our room, she saw me sitting up in my bed. I told her that I clearly didn't remember doing that. Her eyes became a little wide when she said that I must have been awake because she saw me sitting up with my eyes open. I told her about the door and she said she had had no problems with it our entire stay. Needless to say, there was an awkward silence as we pondered it all. 8. My friend was coming back from a wedding with his whole family at around 2 in the morning. The driver was on the wheels and most of them were sleeping. His elder brother was in the front seat and he was chatting with the driver. So, they were on the Dwarka flyover at that time and the car speed was more than 80 or 90. While chatting, suddenly the driver asked him to look at someone who was standing beside the road in white clothes. His first reaction was that it's a ghost, so speed up. The driver accelerated the speed and the elder brother just yelled with fear, making everyone in the car awake. When my friend looked back from the window, he saw that thing running towards them and in no time, that thing was running just 2 to 3 meters behind their car. They all started chanting Hanuman Chalisa. They somehow escaped the place, but the horror still remained with all of them. 9. My friend once went to the Jamali Kamali Mosque at night. He was exploring the place and taking pictures. Suddenly, he felt something was approaching him, as if someone was walking with him. When he felt that something is not right, he decided to leave the place. However, that weird feeling stayed with him. For the next few days, he kept complaining about someone visiting him every night. I remember that when I went to his home and asked him about his well-being, he told me that a lady jinn stares at him every day while sitting upon a tree. After a few days, he passed away. Whatever was the reason, it all happened after his visit to Jamali Kamali. I decided to go there and spend a few hours, but I couldn't find anything. However, I did hear some strange voices. Thanks for watching and make sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel.